Is it happening? Really? Really? Are you sure? Oh, I think it is. Hi. It is I, your host, PoGokeRo, with the next episode of this is Pirate Broadcast. Pirate. Yar, matey. Stand a bit. Yeah, here I'm at my base right now. It's the middle of the night. I got this awesome buff where I can run really fast, and it's nice. And I moved out the elevators here, so this is a lot more flowy, you know? I don't know how to describe it, but like it flows better. So yeah, they're out of the way more, and this is nice and open. I don't know what to do about this guy. I might move him out more, but then I don't want to interfere with my tree farm. But anyways, let's head down here. Aww. Voila, my cave, my mine, the mine I've been working on for this whole world. First came down those steps, and then I dug my way back over here, and then I made those elevators, and then I dug out everything else. Okay. So, this is still loud. All right. So, and down here, I make models, right? I make models of society. And one of the models I have is this guy right here, where I'm like, what is the shape of society relative to the rule of law? And under democracy and human rights, the rule of law is the highest thing in the land. So everyone is equal before the law, regardless of their status within society. In contrast, we have fascism, white supremacy, rule of power, where we have a pyramid structure to society, where we have an underclass who are underclass. They will never ever rise, and the law is different depending on your place within society. And if you have the power, you're above the law, and you can do as you like. So really, the whole point of the United States was to get away from this thing and to move from this thing to this. That was the stated purpose. And we can argue about its success all you want. All we want later on. But in the meantime, as we argue about which one we are, if we're this one or this one, as we argue about this, in actuality, the direction of the wealth has been flowing upwards to the tippity top. The tippity top. This is the structure of wealth in our society since 2016. The lowest have nothing. The lowest 20 have nothing. The next 20 to 40 have a sliver. The middle, 40 to 60, have 2.5% of the total wealth of the United States. The ones above them have about 8% of the wealth. That block represents 5%. So that's about 8%. Ching, ching, 8% of the wealth. And then the top 20% have the remaining 90% of the wealth. They have the top 20%. That's where all the wealth is. It's not down here. It's up there. So when I hear people complaining about, oh, those immigrants, those welfare mothers, I don't know what to say, right? Except that how blind can you be? But that's another thing. So part of the thing that perpetuates this dynamic of wealth being sucked from the bottom and shoved to the top, part of what perpetuates that dynamic is our human relations to capital, because we live in a capitalist system. Therefore, everything around you has been reduced to capital. Everything is reduced to capital. That is the lowest common denominator. Literally everything can be reduced to capital under a capitalist system. Under feudalism, everything used to be reducible to God, but we're not under feudalism anymore. So under capitalism, everything is reducible to capital. Therefore, he with the most capital wins. And so the goal is to accumulate capital. But capital doesn't just grow in a capital tree. You can't just go into nature to the capital forest and look for a capital tree and get capital fruits to put in the capital market. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to go to the natural world, because that's the only thing that's out there, the natural world, and then you have to use your labor to transform it into something that the machine wants. Basically, you transform nature into a commodity, and then you throw the commodity into the machine, and then the machine will give you back, money, a paycheck. So I'm gonna grab 64 cobble. I'm gonna say, yeah, I just spent a bunch of time and energy to mine 64 cobblestone, and I'm gonna chuck it into the machine. Here's my payment, Mr. Capitalist Machine. So it's processing, right? It's thinking. It's like, geez, is that really 64? Did you really spend all that time and energy to transform nature into a commodity for the capitalist machine? If so, you will be rewarded with an emerald block. So it's counting. It's gonna bing like that 64 times, because that's what I had. Oh, there it goes, and I got it. Oh, I think it fell back inside. Dope. Yeah. Oh, I got 2 of them. Ha 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 ha. I got 2. So then I come over here, right? And then like this, note the velocity of money. And you trade money to reproduce yourself to work the next day. And this is capitalism's tendency to concentrate wealth and power. So I don't know if it'll work, right? So you shove it in there, and you press the button, and you get a potato. And where does the wealth go? It goes up. It goes. This is the shape of society right here, right? So the people down here, they work. They transform nature into a commodity. The commodity, you get back capital, and then you stick the capital into the machine to get back sustenance, to reproduce yourself the next day, to go out and work again, to put it in the machine, to get capital, to stick it in the machine, to get your food, to reproduce yourself the next day. Where does the money go? Up. It goes to the top. It goes to the top. How much money is up there, PoGokeRo? Here, let me go look that up. That's a good question. Let's see here. This way. It's under. Oh no, hold on. Let me defend myself here. Okay, hold on. Now I'm gonna look for. This is gonna drive you crazy, right? As soon as I get it, I should have copied it, but here. Dude, I don't even know what I named it. I didn't even name it correctly. I have this new naming structure because I name it by the show segment instead of by the name of what it is, which helps me during the show segment. But when I go back to go look for it, I can't find it because I can't call it by what it is. I have to call it by the show segment. And I don't remember the show segment. It's my own problem. A problem of my own making. Nope. What am I doing here? All right, so here. What was I looking for, by the way? Oh yeah, where's all the money? It's all going up, right? Okay. Where did I write that at? This is, I think, the one. Wealthy hoard all the wealth. Why are companies sitting on so much cash? U.S. non-financial corporations are sitting on just $4 trillion. $4 trillion. $4 trillion. $4 trillion. $4 trillion up there. 4 trillion. 4 trillion. You stick in your little thing. You stick in your, I'm gonna grab a few more of these. All right. Sure, you can go ahead and stick it in there and you get your small potato back. But look where, and you get 1 million people doing this, sticking in their capital and getting a small potato back. And all that money just keeps going up into the machine, up into the $4 trillion. Oh my God. Right. So no wonder our society looks like a pyramid. It's because all the money keeps going up and up and up. Right. So the way you stop that, right? There's a way you can stop this from capital making the money all go up. And the way you stop it is right here. Look at right here. I'm going to show you. It's a wealth tax. You put a tax on billionaires. You put a transactional financial transactional tax on stock trades, and you strengthen the progressive marginal tax by adding additional tax brackets above 100,000, above 250,000. Yeah, right? Because that way you're going to stop the money from going up into the stratosphere, and you shove it out you shove it away from the billionaires. And where do you shove it to? You shove it to over here. I need to yeah, shove it over here. Oh geez. Nope. Oh yeah, hey, check it out. All right, here, check this out. Social programs, Medicare for all, free education, infrastructure. That shoves the wealth that you've taken away from the billionaires. It was heading up into the stratosphere, into that giant hoard of $4 trillion. It was heading that way, and you stopped it. And you shove it over here to these social programs like Medicare for everyone, right? And free education and infrastructure. That's a way of taking the money that was up in the stratosphere and shoving it back down to the bottom, because that's where you want it, at the bottom. Why do you want it at the bottom? Well, that's where most of the people are, number one. Number two, it's organic farming, right? The whole point is to feed the soil, not the plant. Talk to any organic farmer. They will all say the same thing. Feed the soil, not the plant, because you're not trying to inject nutrients directly into the plant, because the plant can't even eat the nutrients the way we give them to it. Like the fertilizer and stuff, the plants don't eat the fertilizer directly. they need the microbes to break down the fertilizers into a form that the roots can take up easily and then transport to the rest of the plant. So when they say feed the soil, not the plants, what they mean is feed that network, that microbe network. It's fungus and microbes all working together. The soil is alive. The culture is alive. And that living soil, living culture is what gives rise to healthy plants. And so that's what you want to do, right? That's how, if you want a strong society, then you feed the people, you feed the microbes. So that's what you do through universal basic income, through United States Postal Service bank accounts. So this is by raising liberty and justice and observed by truth. You make the machine work and you recycle the wealth back into society. You see? The whole thing is a beautiful machine. And you're just recycling the wealth back into society. And by doing that, you can shift society away from this structure. You're lopping off the ends of this giant wealth and you're shoving it back down to the bottom, because everyone knows wealth is going to go through all the way up, right? It's going to work its way back up. And then that's what we're talking about over here when we talk about velocity of money. When the money goes up into the stratosphere, into the $4 trillion, it just sits there. It doesn't do anything. It does nothing. But when the money is instead injected back into the people through social programs and further injected into the people through universal basic income, that money doesn't sit in a bank account. It doesn't get spent on stocks. It gets spent on food. It gets spent on living. It gets spent right away. It gets spent at your local mom and pop shop, who then use that money in turn to pay their labor. Who's their labor? The neighborhood kid. So then that neighborhood kid takes his income that he got and goes to the flower shop, the neighborhood flower shop. And that neighborhood and buys flowers for his girlfriend, right? How nice, how nice. Well, that flower shop was locally owned. And that locally owned flower shop takes that kid's money that he got from working and then spends it to pay his worker. His supplier. Who's his supplier? A local garden place, a local gardener who grows flowers and sells them to the local people. And what does the gardener do? The gardener goes down to the nursery, the local nursery, and buys supplies. Like, oh my goodness, that dollar that you gave to the poor person has now went all over the place in that small town. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's all moving through, like it's touching everything. Like, instead of going up in here and sitting there and doing nothing, the dollar is being used, it's being moved around. That's the velocity of money. Another way of thinking about it, the way I like to think about it, is that money is like blood. It's only good when it's moving. And that's true for both things. Blood, if blood sits somewhere and pools somewhere and doesn't move, it's no good. It's bad, in fact. If blood isn't moving, it's a bad thing. You always want blood moving, because what blood does is it's a carrier. Blood in and of itself doesn't do anything. Well, not that it doesn't do anything, but it's a medium. It's a medium. It's a carrier. It's like a culture. No, that's funny. It's like a culture. Blood just carries stuff. So if blood isn't carrying anything and moving anything, then it's no good. It's bad. So what good is blood if the heart pumps out blood and that blood moves into a sac outside of the body and just sits in this sac? That means like the heart is pumping blood, boom, 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 but a lot of that blood is getting siphoned out of the body. It's not moving through the body. Instead, it's getting held in this sac outside the body and just sitting there. So the heart is pumping, but hardly any blood is moving through the body. It's instead being held in this sac, not moving, and the body is going to start dying, right? It can't move stuff. It can't get stuff done like it used to. It can't, because there's not enough blood to move the stuff around. Like cells can't move anywhere. Your body can't move anywhere. Your blood cell, your muscles can't go anywhere. They're rooted. Your muscle cell can't be like, oh, I'm done living here. I'm gonna see you guys. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go live over here by the kidneys. See ya. No, they can't do that. They're there. They're stuck there. It's up to the blood to come by and pick up their trash and deliver their groceries, right? And so it's like muscle cells are like forever in quarantine. They can never leave. So they need somebody to come by and pick up their trash and deliver their groceries so they don't starve to death and their garbage doesn't pile up everywhere. So if there's no blood, then there's nobody to come to feed the cells and to take away their waste. So the cells start to die. And that's how your body starts to die, right? And that's what happens when the blood comes out. That's what the rich do. But in this situation, right, the blood doesn't go anywhere. The blood doesn't leave the body. The blood gets pushed back into the body and moves around. It picks up the waste from this place and then dumps off some of the food here. And then it flows to the next cell and takes some of their waste and gives them some of them food. And then it goes by the kidneys and it dumps off all the waste at the kidneys. And then it goes by the guts, and then it picks up some more food. And then it flies by, flies by some hormones and carries some hormones along too to where they need to go. And oh, hey, what's up, white blood cell? Let me give you a ride over here to where you need to fight the infection. Okay, no problem. So the more blood moves, the better it is. That's why you have a heart, to keep the blood moving, right? If your heart stops, the blood stops, and it's a really, really bad thing. So you want to keep the blood moving. You want to keep the money moving in society. And by letting it flow up into the stratosphere to the rich, it doesn't move anymore, and you start to die. You need to pump the money back into the people, and that's what this system is about. To move the shape of society away from this and closer to this, and eventually to this, where everyone's the same. Everyone's equal in terms of money. Okay. Now, why did I tell you all that again? I keep reiterating it over and over and over again. Because repetition works. Now, what was the other thing I wanted to show you? Midweek Pirate. Now, this is all beautiful, right? Everything I just told you sounds beautiful, right? It sounds awesome. This is what we all want to happen to the United States. We would love for us to, blossom. But there's something that has to be done first, right? Because since the beginning in the United States, we have been at war with the white supremacists for control of the United States. Since the beginning of the United States. It's been that way since the beginning. And at the moment, the Democrats have secured a trifecta in holding the House, the Senate, and the presidency. But the problem is, there's an obscure rule used by the Confederates, the rebels, the people who want to destroy the United States. This rule is used to stop civil rights legislation. It's called the filibuster. And it says a majority is not enough. You cannot pass civil rights legislation with just a majority. You need a supermajority to pass civil rights legislation, or any legislation really. And it's a stupid rule, and it's there for no reason. It's only there to help racists. That's the reason why it's there, to help racists. So we're at the point now where we can't get anything done through the normal process because of this filibuster. And the only way to get things done now is through super bills, like the budget, which can be passed through a process called reconciliation. And in that process, you only need 51 votes, which the Democrats technically have. They technically have 51 votes to win, to pass things in reconciliation. But the problem is that there's a person that advised them that that they may not be able to put in $15 an hour. That's their advice. You shouldn't put in $15 an hour. It's not law. It's not like they have to listen to him, but that's the advice. And the Democrats are making noise like, oh, we should listen to this advice. I know we were elected for this, but we should listen to the advice of this other person and ignore all the people who elected us. That's what the Democrats are saying right now, which makes me pretty angry. And the other thing is that this rate, the filibuster rule, right? It would be better, right? It would be better to not have to pass legislation using the reconciliation by cramming in a whole bunch of stuff into this one mega must-pass bill. It's stupid because that defeats the whole point of having a Senate. Like, you should be able to vote on individual pieces, not the whole thing at once, right? But that process is broken because of the filibuster. They can't vote on individual pieces because the filibuster is broken. The filibuster breaks it. So then the obvious thing is, why not get rid of the filibuster? Right? That's the obvious thing. Why not get rid of the filibuster? Well, there are two Democratic senators who don't want to get rid of the filibuster. They want to keep the filibuster. I mean, because they're racist? I don't know. Let me introduce you to these people. Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin was an American politician serving as a senior United States Senator from West Virginia, a seat he has held since 2010. A member of the Democratic Party, he was the 34th governor of West Virginia. And Manchin has called himself a moderate conservative Democrat and is often cited as the most conservative Democrat in the Senate. As a member of Congress, Manchin is known for his support of bipartisanship, voting or working with Republicans. And he supported Donald Trump's immigration policies, his child trafficking policies. So Joe Manchin supported child trafficking under Donald Trump, and he wants to work with the Nazis, because you got to remember, right? Republicans are Nazis, and Joe Manchin says he wants to work with Nazis. So already, that's a problem, right? You got a guy who wants to work with Nazis, who's committed with working with Nazis. So that's one thing, right? Then you got this other thing, this other woman. This other person. Her name is Kyrsten Sinema. She's a Democrat, served as a state representative for Arizona and a state senator. Now she served as a U.S. rep, and then now she's a senator. And then she started as a Green Party, and then she turned conservative at Blue Dog Coalition, and she's openly bisexual, and she's a moderate Democrat. Which goes to show you, just because you're not cisgender doesn't mean you're enlightened. Just there are you can be against your own interests, like, regardless. It doesn't matter. So yeah, so as a centrist Democrat, she's against her own interests. This Kyrsten Sinema. I would say it right now. So she wants to work with Nazis, which again is against her own interests. She's committed. In fact, she released a letter. Kyrsten Sinema released a letter talking about how she wants to work with Nazis. Where'd it go? I didn't grab the whole letter. Come on, I did. I put it somewhere on the desktop though. Let me find it real quick. There it is. Here, I can do it right here. Oh no, I can't see this. Oh no, I can't see anything. Where'd it go? There it goes. Okay, so what does this look like? All right. So she released a whole letter, right? About how about the Senate filibuster. See, she's contacting me about the Senate filibuster. Rah. Sinema, right? This is Kyrsten Sinema. This is her deal, right? This is the part I'm gonna focus in on right here, because all the rest of it was just BS. Where does it get into it? Where did I save it at? Right there. Sinema stands with Nazis. Let me move me out of the way here. I have long said that I oppose eliminating the filibuster. for votes on legislation, right? She wants to she recognizes the history of the filibuster as a tool of racial oppression. And she really wants to keep the tool of racial oppression. She recognizes it, that it's used to oppress black people, and she wants to keep it. Right? Kirsten Sinema really wants to keep this tool of racial oppression. Retaining the legislative filibuster is meant to protect what the Senate was designed to be. The Senate was designed to be an undemocratic body, to keep in check the mobbish tendencies of the population. So she wants to make sure that the Senate retains its elitist status as a check on the majority is basically what it is. Right? The nature of the Senate is such that it's the tool of white supremacy. Like the entirety of the Republican senators represent something like 41 million less Americans. 41 million less than the Democrats, but their power is almost equal. So it's a so Kirsten Sinema is very dedicated to the undemocratic and Senate to racism, to tools of racism. So she wants to work with Nazis. She recognizes, right? So remember, Republicans want to overthrow the American government and kill Congress. And she wants to work with them. She wants to find a compromise. How do I work with, what's a compromise you would have with Hitler? Like, I mean, seriously, that's what she's asking. How would she compromise with Hitler? Is what Kirsten Sinema is asking. And the answer is pretty simple, right? Because we just gotta look at what were the legislative priorities of Mitch McConnell when the Republicans had power. Well, during the Trump, when they had a trifecta, the Republicans had a trifecta, which means they controlled all three branches of government. Their major legislative accomplishment was passing the Trump tax cuts, which made sure that billionaires paid the lowest taxes ever. So that was their accomplishment, to lower the taxes of the rich. And then when he wasn't in power, when the Democrats got the House and they had to compromise, what Mitch McConnell did during this time of compromise, let's work together, Democrats, to make something happen. Democrats passed like 200 bills, and Mitch McConnell confirmed judges all day and passed 0 bills, like nothing, no bills. He passed nothing. Mitch McConnell was the Grim Reaper, and the Senate was his graveyard. So that's his priorities. So you have to want to find a compromise between what Mitch McConnell wants, which is nothing, and what the Democrats want, which is what hopefully what their constituents want, right? And she wants to find a compromise. How do you compromise between nothing and the legislative package? You got to find a compromise between that. That's the dilemma. How do you work with a Nazi? That's Kirsten Sinema's dilemma. Kirsten Sinema's dilemma. That's funny. She's got to figure out a way. What's the midpoint between her and Nazis? Like, is there a midpoint between her and Nazis? Maybe the midpoint is between her and the Democrats. I don't know, right? Because she moved a lot closer to the Nazis. Like, you can see it in her legislative career. She went from a progressive and she moved from a progressive over closer to the Nazis, to a blue dog. So, like, I guess I can see, like, it's like, I don't know, maybe she does share something share similar values with the Nazis, and that she hates black people. This is certain. This is absolutely certain, right? Because again, right? Oh wow, I just remembered the other half of this. Okay, so the other half of this, what's the other part of the filibuster? The filibuster is going to be used to stop the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. What is the John Lewis Voting Rights Act? It's a bill to protect the voting rights of minority Americans and to ensure that every American, gets to vote and it's fair. We had a Voting Rights Act from the Civil Rights, but John Roberts, the Chief Justice, killed it. John Roberts killed the Voting Rights Act from the Civil Rights Act, so now we have to redo it because John Roberts, Supreme Court Justice, racist, he killed it. So we're on the verge of doing this, and it's really important that we do, right? Because already you look, and Georgia, they're already clamping down on the ability for Americans to vote. They're closing polling stations, they're cutting early voting, they're ramping up requirements like voter ID, they're like doing all sorts of stupid things. There are all sorts of restrictions. They've got to stop people from voting, right? Because remember, Nazis are, anti-democratic, and Kristen Sinema wants to find middle ground with these Nazis. These people want to stop democracy. I got to find the middle ground. How do I compromise? Nazis who want to end democracies. Work with Kristen Sinema. She wants some people to vote. Can you help with me? What if we stop black people from voting but allow white people? Is that a good compromise? Will you allow that? Is that okay with you Nazis? Will you work with Kristen Sinema if that's the kind of compromise you get? I think that's where she wants to go, right? I think that's what Kristen Sinema wants, right? As long as the voting, she's okay with voter suppression as long as it's targeted against blacks and Latinos, Latino Americans, right? As long she's white, keep some little privilege for her, right? That's the compromise she wants. I guarantee it. If you ask her, she'll say, "Oh, this John Lewis Voting Rights Act, that's too much. I think we should implement voter ID, and I think we should stop mail-in voting." Watch, just ask her. She's with the Nazis. Same thing with Joe Manchin. Same thing. So what's the dilemma here, right? So since the failure to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act means all these voter suppressions are going to get are going to get ramped up. They're going to get ramped up, and then that means that the Democrats are going to lose the House and the Senate. So these 2 years are about the only time they have to pass anything, and they can't because the filibuster. So that means in 2 years, for sure, the Republicans will take power again. And that's okay, I guess. They're going to impeach Biden, right? If they take back the House, they're going to impeach Biden, for sure. But yeah, there'll be no more legislation, really. Nothing. And then 2024 comes along, and the voting suppression will be so strong that Trump will have a shot of taking power again. I don't know if he'll be healthy enough to run again, but one of his kids might be, right? So this is the future that Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin are looking forward to. They're set, right? They're white. They don't care if they lose their next election, which is in 6 years or whatever. They get a pension because they're senators, and so they get a fat pension for the rest of their lives, and they get a fat healthcare package for the rest of their lives, and they're white. So no matter what, they're cool when the Nazis take over. They don't care, right? They're set. It's not their problem. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen. The huge agenda that the Democrats had is going to be thwarted by Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. They're going to stop it. And the Nazis are like, yeah! And they'll take power again, and it's going to be, and then, okay, so that's the other part, right? Oh, here's an example. Anyways, well, no. So what's going to happen? What happens, right? So we have a population that's going this way. I should put it in Minecraft, dude. What am I doing here? We have a population that's going this way. We have a Republican Party that's over here. We have the Democrats who got elected, you know, with a platform over here. And then Ron Johnson and Kristen Sinema say, no, we don't want to do that. We're going to go over here, closer to the Nazis. All right. By doing that, the people here are going to be like, well, then Democrats are worthless. I'm not going to come out and vote anymore. And then, yeah, these guys take power. And the problem is now, what do you have? You have the people who are way over here and the government who's way over here. I need to look, I forgot the guy's name, but he wrote The Polish Peasant. I should look it up right now. And he talks about form and content. The form is like the structure, that the actual concrete things that you do every day, the shape of it, right? And then the content is the spirit that the form is expressing. It's kind of hard to describe what I mean, but there's a life force being expressed by these social functions. So like a family, right? A family. You think of the nuclear family. Let's think of the nuclear family. You got the mom and the dad and the kids, and the way they relate to each other, right? And all that is called the family. The family is a form, right? It's a form. The form of the family. That's what it looks like when you look at it. It's like, oh, these are how these people relate to each other and how they interact, and then that's how the family functions and reproduces, and that's how the kids grow up, and and the family grows. Oh, I see. That's how this happens. All right, the form of the family. Okay, now the thing is that the form is dependent upon the environment in which the form finds itself in. The form of the family in the United States is going to be different than the form of the family in China and then the form of the family in Egypt. It's going to be different in all those places, right? So the same was true back in the early 1900s of the United States. 1900s, even earlier than that, I'm sure. Well, when the Polish were coming over, and they would come over from, the Polish would leave Poland and travel over to the United States, and then work in the industries, the meat packing industries and whatever industries they could work in, get whatever work they can work in, and it was a big change for the family to move from Poland to the United States, so that the shape of the form of the family that was in Poland would no longer serve you in the United States. It caused a lot of conflict. And so the sociologist, I don't know if he was a sociologist at the time or what, I have to look it up. I don't even remember. I just remember the story. And he looked at the conflicts, and he would see that there was conflict between the immigrant father and the first generation children. There was a lot of conflict because the children are trying to integrate into American society at the same time as they're trying to satisfy their traditional daughterly or mother-sonly role, children role to the satisfaction of the father. But the problem is that and the father is trying to assert himself as the authority figure like it was in the old world, the way it was all structured. But it's hard to maintain that shape when you can't find work in a society that doesn't support your status as head of patriarchy and head of the family, when it's like your sons who are the ones who are making the money or whatever else, and you have to stay at home unemployed. And so that, what I mean? And then, so the shape of the family, the Polish family changes. It has to change and adapt to the new environment in which it finds itself. And it comes to a point where that family breaks and it's no longer a family. The family just falls apart. And then you have free content. People explore, well, what does this mean anymore? What does it mean? And they explore new relations to other humans and to one another. And eventually, because and it's kind of fun and free, right? It's exciting. It's amazing. It's alive, right? Because it's total freedom. But it's impossible to exist like that for any length of time. Eventually, by necessity, you have to settle back down into a form again, because you can't persist under absolute freedom. It has to, absolute free content. Eventually, it has to settle back down into a form and be structured again. But hopefully, the new form is a better reflection of the content. Because that's why the whole thing broke down, because the content didn't reflect the form, or the form didn't reflect the content. That's why it broke down. And now that it reassembled itself back into a new form, hopefully the new form is a better reflection of the content, and there's more harmony between the two. And so that it can serve its function of growing a new family, new humans. Right? So the danger now is that the people have elected a certain government. We elected a government over here on the left. And it's getting dragged over here to the government on the right. And in doing so, eventually, it's going to get co-opted. The whole thing, they're going to lose power, and the whole thing is going to get captured again by the Nazis. So which is the far right. So that the country is on the left, but the government is on the right. And when you have that conflict, bad things happen. Your form no longer matches your content, and it's going to break down. And another way of saying that is saying civil war. And that's real bad. Why is that going to happen? But is this imperative? Is this destined to happen? It's destined to happen so long as the Democrats keep moving closer to the Nazis. Because in moving closer to the Nazis, you move away from the group of people that put you into power. You're alienating the group of people that put you into power by moving closer to the Nazis. That's why. And that's why eventually, by moving closer to the Nazis, you're going to give them all your power. And you're going to give them all your power, and we're going to end up in civil war. Because the form doesn't match the content. If you want to avoid civil war, all you have to do is reflect what you are, what put you into power, your content. Reflect your content. If you want to avoid civil war, reflect your content. The government reflects the people. All right? That's how you avoid civil war. You make sure the government reflects the people. Because if the government reflects the people, then you will continue to gain power. If the government reflects the people, you will continue to gain power. But if you move to the Nazis, you give power to the Nazis, they're going to take it all. 2022. If you fail to pass If you fail to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the Nazis will take power in 2022 and they will not lose it. It will go to civil war. That is the short of it. That is the bottom line. I'm telling you right now. I am telling you. Because the form and the content don't match. You have a fascist government with an American people. And it's nope, they don't mix. I mean, you already saw what almost happened under Trump. He tried to get the military. He tried to call out the military. He came that close to murdering Congress. You don't think the next time around he's going to succeed? Of course he will the next time around. That's why if you don't pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, you're basically saying, hey, person that wants to kill me, try again, please. Make no mistake, Kristen Sinema, they will kill you if they get power again. Man, that was a big rant. I was angry. All right, I guess I'm done. All right, have a good day, everyone. Kill the filibuster.